Welcome to Focus on Business, a podcast show for photographers with me, your host, Jane Goodrich. I'm talking to successful photographers so you can learn from our experiences and have the business of your dreams. So join us and let's focus on business. Hi, so welcome to today's episode of Focus on Business. And I am so happy for today's guest. She is a fantastic wedding photographer and founder of Photoboss. You have to check out Photoboss because she just really is the Photoboss. Welcome to the show, Joy. I'm really happy that you're here.
Thank you so much, Jane. I am honored to be here. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Should be fun. So tell our audience a little bit about yourself if they haven't heard of you already, which they should have.
Yeah, sure. So I started a business when I was still in college. I had just gotten married, super young, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. But getting married and meeting my wedding photographer got me into photography. I was already into photography on the side, but had no idea you could make that a full-fledged career. So I am a graphic designer at school, mentally completely checked out in that moment and decided, I think I can do this. I think I want to be a photographer. I think I want to be a wedding photographer. And that set me off on a journey that leads us until now. I essentially had a crossroads moment of trying to decide, okay, do I just jump into this business without knowing anything about it essentially? Or should I go back to school? Because, I was in art school, but not for photography. I decided to take a year and just treat that as if I was going back to school while still working and just getting the education that I could in my business. And then within that year, I was able to take my wedding photography business full time.
Wow, that's amazing. Just being able to do that full time right from college. And I want to know, what was the experience like with the wedding photographer that actually made you think, oh, I could do this? Was it just conversations with them or, did you ask them questions about starting a business or?
Yes to all of the above. So when I met my wedding photographer, her name was Marcella, my husband and I were sitting down with her and then we did the consulting thing where you sit down with your photographer and look at albums. And she left and he said, she's literally you, but like in 5 years. I thought so too. Like she's so cool and artsy and whatever. And I had a camera, I loved photography, but to me, it just hadn't connected that could be a thing. I thought you needed to work for like JCPenney or National Geographic. And so seeing that she was living this life gave me the belief that I could. And then she was just an incredible resource to me. Like truly, I still to this day, like owe so much to her because she ended up being my first mentor after we were married. And then I think a few months later, I reached out to her and said, hey, I kind of want to do what you do. And she was so gracious and was like, okay, come to my house, be my intern. And I was, yes, ma'am, I'm bringing coffee. Oh, this is it. I'm here for it. And she was super cool about it. Seeing that it was possible, truly, I knew I wanted to do something creative. I was a graphic design major. I was like, yes, I want to do something where you create something in the world. But to be honest, photography almost felt too simple, too easy. I don't know. Taking pictures, that sounds so wonderful. That sounds like almost too good to be true. And while it is absolutely so not simple to run a photography business, in my mind as a 22-year-old, I was like, that sounds too good to be true. But then I gave myself a year. I let myself go all in and I was all in. Put myself out there like crazy, did all of the workshops. I actually won a ticket. Like there was a scholarship for an in-person business-focused photography workshop with Shay Cochran, who runs Elevate Visuals, which was Social Squares. I wrote probably the most emotional email of my life being like, I need this. I'm meant to be here. And I was chosen. That really helped me as well, just to get in the room with people, incredible women who were doing what I wanted to be doing. That probably was a big catalyst. That and just me being absolutely delusional about my dream and saying like, this is it. Like, I'm not working in corporate where I'm not designing, returns and like all my friends were getting their design jobs. And I was on my computer asking people if I could take their pictures while everyone else was finishing their design portfolios. I was so checked out. Like, I was like, I'm going to be a photographer.
It's interesting though, thinking about the journey that you made it with an immediate mentor that if you're
Yes.
coming in and interning for a photographer, you're seeing a lot of the back end stuff. And then
Yes.
having the business workshop. So having not only seeing how it's run and the business side, do you feel like that set you up for success from day one? Or did you do some trial and error things in terms of mistakes?
Yes, I think it absolutely was a huge blessing, like having that stack of real life mentors that for some reason were gracious enough. Yeah, come over. I'll show you Lightroom. I'll show you my calendar. I'll show you my gear. I'll explain how we submit photos. To be able to be doing that just 6 months into my business was a gift. But at the same time, I also had the graphic design background. And so I understood the value of the visual brand and your personal brand and how you could come to market really quickly with a lot of authority if it looked nice. And so I think knowing that was a gift as well. But I still, didn't know all the things I didn't know. It's like you don't know what you don't know when you're first starting out. And, I would have a pad on my desk of like, okay, we have to open a bank account, I think. So I went to the bank and they were like, you need a tax ID number. And I was like, I'll be right back. Let me go get that. I still didn't know, my mentors were legit going bullet point by bullet point, telling me what I needed to do. So I still did have to read an enormous amount and buy all the courses and make all the mistakes and, struggle through the first few years of figuring out contracts, client questions, and edit, like everything, your style. Your mentor can't tell you what's your style, what's your brand, who are your ideal clients, all of that. But absolutely, to your point, it was a huge catalyst to get help early on and to invest as much in education, even through like books and workshops beyond the one that I got for free, just as much as I was investing in gear. I knew I needed to be a good photographer, but I also needed to know how to run a business. And I needed to figure out how can I charge more because I already saw like the endless hustle. I was like, this isn't going to work until I can charge more. And I can't charge more until I know more and they trust me. And I could see ahead, I think, that I needed to get more education and build that from the beginning. So yes, but there were so many mistakes and just silly, like almost embarrassing things when you look back on like the things that you did. But that's like a rite of passage. Like if you didn't do a lot of embarrassing stuff when you started your business, then I can't relate to you because I did so many embarrassing things.
Oh no, I definitely did a ton of embarrassing things. One of them was I decided to spend $10,000 with a free paper because I came from the ad world. So I was in marketing from Ogilvy. I had a media budget of $85 million I was in charge of. Oh yeah, I need to get awareness. So I did that.
Yes.
I actually still think that this is, I'm not sure about the media spend in terms of getting tied into a year-long contract with a free paper. But I also did, with the post office, you can see new movers, right? The people that have moved into the area. So they did a postcard blast of new movers, but I didn't check the printing of it and everything printed so poorly. Great. So I have like just really ruined my brand with all these people. What am I going to do? But I think the effort was there in terms of like, and your market might be different to mine. Somebody else might do a great, oh, wow, I've seen your back page, full page ad on Westchester Magazine. Yep. And I'm going to, like, I mean, how many shoots would have had? I just, to pay that off. But I did a lot of local old school awareness. And I think that's some of the times where it's actually not bad, but definitely not overspending in print advertising. So tell me a little bit more about Photoboss and what that does. People haven't heard of Photoboss. What do you do there?
Yes. Okay. Photoboss was almost this accidental side business that started about 4 years into my journey as a full-time wedding photographer in Annapolis, Maryland. I was convinced by my little brother to start a YouTube channel. And I wanted to start a YouTube channel, but he really gave me the gusto to believe that I should do it. I started this channel. It's just education for photographers. I was like, let me just share some of what I've learned because I know how helpful it was when someone took me under their wing. So I started sharing education on YouTube really inconsistently, putting videos up here and there. And off of that, I decided to start a Facebook group. YouTube is wonderful for reach, But as we all know, the comment sections aren't exactly where you have building up kind of conversations. You're lucky if you get nice comments, but it's not like we're sharing, here's what happened at this shoot, or here's this client that I had, what should I do? And helping each other. So my vision was, let's start a community. So I started a Facebook group, and I was at the gym on my phone, starting this Facebook group, trying to decide what would I call it. And Photoboss came to my mind. And so I'll just put this here and I'll change it when I come up with something better. I think I even told a friend, and they were like, I don't know, it's kind of too strong, but I like it because it's the business of photography. We're bosses. We can end this starving artist thing. What if we could do something that we loved and make good money with it and not be a slave to our businesses and have lives at I don't know. I just was like already being like, I kind of like this name, but I'll come up with something better. And then I never did. And it kind of caught on, and the group started growing, and it was like maybe 100 photographers, and they started calling each other photobosses. They'd be like, hey, photobosses, I have a question about whether or not I should get this preset or some gear or whatever. What are you guys doing for backdrops or whatever it might be? And I was like, well, I can't change it. We're photobosses. Photoboss isn't me, it's them. And then it just grew. It just blew up. And when it was 8 or 10,000 members, I thought, I think I need to make this its own thing. Like, I think I need to trademark it and have all of the education that I provide in my business under this umbrella of Photoboss. And so that's really what began Photoboss. It was very much an accidental. Yes, I started my YouTube channel on purpose, but I don't think I realized that it was a completely new business, and that now I was serving B2B, and it was a lot to figure out, but such a cool organic unfolding of what is now this community, and then programs and coaching and templates just to support wedding and portrait photographers so they can confidently make more money, stand out in their market, become the photographer everyone thinks of, and, still have time for the other things that matter in life, because I'm really passionate about photographers finding balance too.
Yeah, no, I love that. I really do. It's interesting how you started the YouTube channel with a purpose, and then it's evolved. And I like that, because that's sort of like how you evolve with what your audience wants from you. And that is great, because you're not just putting things out there that you think people might want. They want the community, and they want the presets, and they want the templates and the coaching. I love that.
Yeah.
Everyone has to check that out, because it is a fantastic community. So when you were doing your wedding photography and you had to focus on marketing, what would be the number one thing that you sort of was like, I have to nail this before I attempt X, Y, and Z for my business? And marketing is broad.
It is. And I, like you, did some print ads, paid so much money for some things that nothing came of it. And I really tried. I was like, did you see the ad? And they said, no. Reflecting back, I wish that I would have dialed in even deeper, was truly understanding who was that couple that I was searching for. What were they going to be identifying with in my work? And just as importantly, what would they not want to see? And just be so bold about curating my portfolio, curating the things that I shared, and just saying, this is who I'm for. Because I had a little bit of that. I was aware that I was going to shoot, the light and airy, and it was going to be a lot of waterfront weddings. But I think I still had some words that were watered down. It was classic, elegant. And I think that if I could have gone bolder, it would have helped me dial in and be the obvious choice so much faster for people. And so that's one thing that I advise a lot with my coaching clients. Let's draw out, who are you for? How can you become that gut? Yes, I need this person. Like, they understand me, and the work, yes, it resonates, but they understand what I want, because we're personal brands. I'm going to assume 99% of photographers listening, it's like, you are a personal brand. So making that personal connection and like putting a stake in the sand of like who you're for, so powerful. I think it took me a little while to get there, and it's a process, but I wish I would have been a little more definitive. And I also wish I would have embraced video sooner. and at the time, starting my business in 2013, I'm not even sure Instagram supported video. And I was big on Instagram. I'm not even sure what year that started, but I know when Instagram first got started, there weren't stories, definitely weren't reels, and video came along, but it was different. But as soon as you could put video in places, I should have done that. And I just spent a lot of time being like, here's pretty pictures. I hope you like it, and instead of telling the story of what it looks like to document their wedding.
That's absolutely key. It's like, what is the experience like with you, as well as what their end result will be? I think that I miss out on what's the experience like. I need to dial that up more in terms of my business. And sometimes it's hard. You're one person, you're like, I can't do the behind the scenes of me, wrapping a baby. But you know what? I think having the time to okay, well, I'm going to do a model call where I literally just have my friend or just put a tripod up there with the camera or, your iPhone and film sort of the experience. Yes. Because I think that actually builds so much more trust with that. Mm-hmm. I actually referred a friend to a photographer that he's for weddings, but he does Google ads. And he literally says, I have ADHD. I don't want to spend too much time on da, 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 da. And the way he said it, and she was like, I have ADHD. I'm hiring him. But the way he was like, I am this, and I will work for you if you also are this. And I think his website is really good of I'm a geek. Basically, he's a geek. He only shows geeky things. His website's quite geeky. And he attracts those people that he wants to work with through his visuals, through his words, and calling himself a geek about certain things. I think if your marketing can dial into who you are and how that will help the experience with them, it's not that you're I'm great. I get a lot of repeat clients, but they say certain things of what I do, but I don't use that for new clients. They'll say, oh, she's kind of funny and really good with kids and this, that, and the other. I don't think I have any of that on my website.
Yeah.
Or pull video right of there. The kids running up to me, and or kids think she's like the family. They call her Crazy Jane or something where you're the hardest thing was getting them dressed and Jane takes the rest. I don't put that on there. I should. I love that. Doing full-time wedding photography, I know you do a little bit now, but how do you manage your time? Do you outsource? We have so many roles to play. How do you do that in terms of balancing seasonality, balancing, everything we have to do? Is there a secret that you have that you can tell us?
Oh my gosh. I love this question. Okay, there's two parts to this. I think the first I will say is that my schedule and how I've worked in my business has evolved so much. And obviously, since becoming a parent, I can't work in my business the same way that I used to. So I feel like I used to just go where the wind blew me. I feel like we should vlog today, or I feel ready to edit all of those engagement photos. But over the years, I got a lot more disciplined about capping the time that I was dedicating to certain things, especially things that I felt will you ever truly feel like you're done editing? Does the website ever feel good enough? When are you going to have time to actually go in and update your portfolio or post to all the social media platforms you've been meaning to? So I started deciding here, we're going to have themes to certain days or, try all the different things that people try. But that has really helped me. And I literally use a timer cube on things that I don't want to do or that I spend too much time doing. It literally gamifies the whole thing. It's so wonderful. I got it off Amazon. I will just flip it, especially if it's something that it's good. I need to be doing it. It's I have to get on social media, but I'm going to get sucked in and I'm going to look up and it will have been way too long. This timer cube, it doesn't make any noise until it goes off. So it's not literally ticking or making me nervous, but it's there and it kind of blinks and does its thing. And then when it goes off, I'm oh, it snaps me out of it a little bit. So I do that. But I also like to try to make a game out of, let's see how many photos I can edit in this much time. Let's see how many emails I can get through in this much time, whatever it might be. But I will say one of the first things I outsourced was my editing. That was huge. That really allowed me to be able to build in more content creation, like starting a YouTube channel, having a Facebook group, blogging, going to local events. I don't think I would have had the bandwidth to do those things if I didn't outsource my editing. So I outsourced editing. That was huge. Love that, I still had to do the anchor images. And then when I got it back, tweak and look at it and be obsessive as we all are. But the amount of time that chunked down for me was huge. And then, of course, I've also outsourced projects like my website. I've done some blogging outsourcing, Pinterest. I'm trying to think over the years, lots of different things. But I would say like the editing, just the lift of getting that off my plate, I think really allowed for me to be able to focus on the experience. And back to what we were saying about the experience that you offer your clients is so important. One of my favorite quotes, one of my mentors said, I can't remember who said it, but they said, I don't need to be the best photographer. I just want to be my client's favorite. And that was so permission giving for me. Oh, I'm probably not going to ever be the best photographer, but if I can be their favorite person to work with, the wedding clients would end up being family clients and we would end up doing their holiday cards. And then when they had babies, I was like, yeah, I don't really do babies or maternity normally, but I love you guys. I know you guys. Yes. So, it ends up being repeat clients because it's just, you're the person they think of and you're their favorite photographer. Yes. Did they love my work? Did they print it? Yes. But I don't think I was the best photographer in Maryland. I know I wasn't the best photographer in Maryland, but yet I was still able to charge the prices I wanted to and be someone's favorite. And that was, through a client experience and like really mapping that out and making space for some of the experience side of it and not just shooting, editing, uploading, delivering and being stuck in that grind and realizing there's more outside of that was huge and allowing time for that. So I don't know if I have any specific schedule hacks besides really trying different things and finding what works for you, because I have found that actually the more planned that I get, I am more creative if I pull all of the content creation items into the same day. Or if I decide, okay, on this one day, I'm going to reach out and work on my networking relationships or see if I can get on that preferred vendor list, whatever it might be, like batch things. At first, I really resisted that as a creative. I was like, I just need to like flow with the wind. Like, don't tell me how to live, whatever. But I truly would be like, wow, look how much I got done. I would do what's called a marketing power hour. And so I created a list inside Notion, which is a project management tool. I was, what if I sat down for 1 hour and did a little bit of engagement on this Facebook groups, a little bit of this, like reconnecting with people, asking somebody to coffee. What if I did all these things, 1 hour done? Instead of constantly acting like we're working as we're scrolling, if I just did a power hour and it was like transformative, I was like, oh my gosh, we just got so much done in 1 hour. We just submitted to get published and reached out to new people. It's just incredible what you can do when you plan. So that has really, really helped me. I've learned that I actually can be a more planned person and still be very creative and inspired. So we're growing.
I really resisted it myself. And also, I think it's like you feel I'm going into this business for freedom and flexibility. And I want to be able to do things when I want to do it and when I want to feel like it. Yeah. But having a little bit of structure. When I had my child in 2015, it was more like, yeah, Jane, you got to focus on, are you time wasting? Are you overthinking your website?
Yes.
Since people are still finding you, like how many domain changes have you made on your website? And we won't talk about that because that's my bane of my existence. But once you get to a certain point, do you have to update your portfolio on your website all the time? Is it that different? If you are true to your style, is it that different? Maybe just update it for a blog post or something like that. Your portfolio, if it represents you and it's timeless, you don't have to obsess about, oh, my images are from 2 years ago.
Yes.
I'm better and they're still booking me. Doesn't matter because they'll get, oh, wow, she's so much better than I thought she was going to be. I always put my B on my website.
You got to keep the expectations a little
if I wasn't booking from it, but then I'm like, and they get wowed versus the other way around of putting your absolute best photos on there. And then your shoot wasn't that great. They're going to be disappointed. So I always, I don't know why.
That's a good point.
Like, that's so stupid. I'm like, it's worked for me for 14 years. I just put the average ones, the ones that I know I can get, yes, you're going to get some amazing shots. I had
Mm.
this amazing shot where it was in Chelsea, this gorgeous baby, the view of their home. When I was doing in-home, and I think people booked me to think that that's what they were going to get. Their shoot was in a basement apartment, and that was not this. And it wasn't that they were disappointed, but they were like, oh, the one image that sold me on you was this. And I was like,
Yeah.
but your
And you get a
home
little
isn't
worried. You're like,
this.
that's not the house.
I know I can get these poses. I'm not going to put any crazy poses on there. And so if they want it, I'm going to be like, go pick from my website. And if we get a great bonus pose that is difficult to get,
Yes.
great. But I'm setting expectations.
Yes.
And it also makes me free. You know, I don't have to update my website. It just gives me a little bit of free. So
I love that though, because I feel like what you're saying in, do I really need to update these pictures? Is this not working for me? Is this not good enough? Is like, is this the best use of my time right now? That question, tracking what you're doing with your time, looking at where your money, your leads, your inquiries, and the inquiries you're actually converting are coming from, is going to change the game. It's like when you 80-20 analysis your business, you realize spending a few hours updating your website could potentially be a horrible use of your time because your website's like the thing that's actually working. But what if you could go get visibility so that people are coming to your website? Because the website's converting beautifully, but you need to get more people to the website. So yeah, that's such a great point. Is that the best use of your time? Or do you maybe need to like revisit some of your offers or get a sample album so the next time you actually see someone in real life, you can be like, this is.
Or is it building
like,
relationships, right? Is it going out and getting out of your desk and meeting people in your community that can actually refer you? I think that that's one thing that really helps people.
Yes.
People buy from people on if a solid recommendation comes from a person versus 25 comments on a Facebook group that you've spent hours, like asking people to comment and this, that, and the other. It's just not worth your time. It might be worth your time trying to meet 5 people in your area. One's going to stick. They're not all going to be your best friends. They're not all going to refer you. So the quote that I'm reading it now, that I don't need to be the best photographer, I just need to be their favorite, is key. But is that the one bit of advice that you would give to a new photographer, or like, what would you tell them to do?
Oh man. Okay. New photographers, I would say go all in, treat it like a business. When you treat it like a business, other people will start to treat it like a business too. A lot of times how we speak about our business and how we think about the business, whether it's this side thing, it's this dream, it really comes across as just a side thing, just a dream. When I embodied this business, this is what I'm doing. If someone asks, what are you doing? It's like, oh, I'm a photographer. Even if it feels like a lie, so important for you to start saying, no, I'm a wedding photographer, or I'm a family photographer, I'm a newborn photographer, and really stepping into that identity. I felt like that was a big piece of it. And it's absolutely necessary for other people to start to see that what you're doing is a real thing. I would also say, like, don't obsess over gear, obsess over all of the pillars of your business. The gear is, yes, paint and paintbrushes for an artist. You need them. But at a certain point, getting 5 more paintbrushes is not going to get that artist a commissioned piece. You still have to meet people. You still have to establish your brand and your experience. Like, what's it going to be like when someone books with you? And sometimes I think we're so focused on all the technical proficiency of photography, and that's a beautiful art form. But there is also an art to the business and the marketing and being able to carry that client through to an incredible experience. And if you don't have that piece, you could really disappoint on the back end. So having all of it be of importance, but especially people love to flash all of their gear around. But at the end of the day, you know what? There are incredible photographers making incredible art on 10-year-old camera bodies, and they're making killings at it. Like, that is not what wins the game. So really just being careful to not let that be even like a mental barrier of, well, if I had that lens, then I would have that business, and understanding there is a separation of the two. And then also embracing personal brand. I think that we've touched on this a couple of times, but sharing when relevant little pieces of your life and who you are why you're doing what you do in a way that's relevant to the client can be so cool. Because when I started sharing, I am a beach girl. I grew up going to the beach. I grew up sailing. I grew up in Annapolis. I didn't realize that was anything special. And then my clients would be like, yes, us too. Naval Academy in Annapolis, sailing. Like they were like, you get us. Let's go on a boat and take pictures. I would die of happiness. I was like, yes, you get it. Then I would be photographing on yachts and like welcome parties on yachts. And I was like, this is all I've ever wanted. Don't put me in a windowless hotel. But until I shared, this is me building sandcastles as a baby, it didn't connect, and I think that like the more that we can build that personal brand, the easier we actually make our marketing and the more that we're become memorable, because we do remember elements of people. It's amazing how you can share just a sliver of your life and somebody says, that is sort of similar to my story. It doesn't even have to be 100%. And they grab onto it and they're like, we could be friends. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I was sitting there trying to be the best and the most put together and the most professional. And all I needed to do was tell you I went to University of Maryland or I love corgis. And now you are my friend too, because you love corgis. It's like we make it harder than it needs to be.
Wow, you just actually made me think of something. When I first started, this is like 2010, and I'm an identical twin. This is when I lived in Chicago. Before I moved to New York, I was like, I'm going to just photograph twins. One, because I love twins. And two, I'll get more content. Didn't realize how difficult it was. But one of my ideas was, okay, well, I'm going to connect with local twin groups. I'm a twin. I love photographing twins. And it took off because people were like, oh, she's a twin. Maybe she'll tell me what it's like being an adult twin so I can help. And that's been one of my biggest referrers of a woman who has like teaches new moms with twins or pregnant moms with twins. And guess what? She refers me and we've got a great relationship. I've photographed her family and some of her events, but she's my best referrer. I mean, I'm a full believer, and maybe I'm not the best on social media or Instagram Reels, and I will work on it. But one of the things that I have is I like friending my clients on Facebook. I have never had it where I've like got political or anything. I used to have a thing where Happy Monday and I'd post a picture of my daughter because I just couldn't think of anything else to say. But then I started seeing her growing up, and it was a reminder that I was top of mind on their Facebook personal page. It wasn't Instagram. It wasn't TikTok. For me, my business is more, I just want my current clients to come back. I have enough clients. So like, it depends on where you are in your business. And you can think of personal brand in whatever way you want. And personal brand is the best thing if you have two people in your area where you're doing very similar work, very similar pricing. Well, are you going to go with the crazy, sarcastic English person that's really good with kids that will wear rainbow poop hats? Or you're going to go with the more serious person, right? Whatever. Some people might not want the rainbow poop, sarcastic person that's good with kids. They might want more of the pose thing.
Yeah.
They probably just think I'm a kook. I don't care. I want the clients that like me. And so I think the more that you can put yourself out there, because you're your unique selling proposition.
Yes.
And speaking of what gear, we just mentioned gear. What is your camera? What do you use? And what can't you leave home without?
Oh, this is so good. Okay. So professional camera body, the Nikon D4, very old school, vertical grip. I love a good sized camera body. I have a lot of other gear and camera bodies. But as far as a lens, especially for the wedding world, the Nikon 58 millimeter, it's kind of a specific lens, but it emulates film so beautifully. There's something about it that's just so dreamy. And it's like the 50 millimeter and the 85 millimeter had a baby.
Interesting.
Like you get the compression of the 85, but it's more versatile like a 50 where you don't have to constantly be like backing up.
Yeah.
So good. Love that lens. And I would take pictures of people and be like, what lens was this? What lens was this? And it's the 58.
Interesting.
It's a specific to Nikon, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, at least it was last I checked. But yeah, no, that was a really beautiful combination, especially if you're trying to get that like soft, it's tack sharp, but it's also kind of ethereal looking. And I like that combination. I like something kind of bright. Like it looked like it could be a Fuji 400H, but not like completely out of focus or anything crazy.
That's funny.
As can sometimes happen.
Yeah, sometimes that can. I'm an old school Canon 5D Mark IV, and people are like, go mirrorless, mirrorless. I want to, but I'm just like, I like my baby. And eventually I'm sure they'll wind down the old school DSLRs. But for now, I'm keeping it. Although
they're still so good. They're so good.
I love the colors on it too. And I don't know, it's heavy, which doesn't help. That's the one thing I like about the mirrorless is that I feel like my hands and my arthritis, because I'm getting old. Now, actually, photographers, you might get arthritis earlier on because of the way that you hold your camera. And so it is a risk, but
correcting my posture as we speak, like, because the photographer like hunch, it's real.
It's interesting because I think the wedding photographers I know, they have more of the back issues and the neck issues than a family photographer, because it's the amount of time that you are carrying that weight all day and you're on your feet. One day I will find someone that's a photographer and a yoga instructor that can do some help, or physical therapist. But this has been amazing. Tell the audience how we can find you.
Yeah, this has been so fun. I feel like we could keep talking for forever.
We'll keep talking forever. So
we'll have to do a part two. We'll have to do a part two. Well, all of my education and resources can be found at joymichelle.co, and my YouTube channel is Joy Michelle. You could join the Photoboss Facebook group. It is completely free. Just search Photoboss on Facebook and it'll pop right up. You just answer a couple of questions and we'll get you right in.
This has been amazing. We'll put them in the show notes for you. I love all of the things, and also the Facebook group is really fantastic. Thank you so much for being on here. I absolutely love it. This has been so fascinating. I can't switch to Nikon, but I am going to go look up them. And I don't get the Nikon versus Canon thing. It's a camera. I started on it. I'm not going to switch.
Yes.
It's no big deal to me.
Yes.
Stop fighting.
I'm with you on that one. Thankfully, I've never become like a huge competitive brand person when it comes to cameras.
One last question, because since I'm looking at it right now, do you have a camera strap or do you have the original camera strap? Did you get a new one?
I'm a double holster shooter.
All right.
So it contributes to the back and neck issues, but I do have like a wrist strap by Holdfast. I love all of their leather strap situations. So either like a crossbody situation. Yeah, I always take off the original strap and put something extra.
So somebody is like, you can tell a professional photographer if they keep the camera strap. And I was like,
really?
I'm sorry. I've been doing this for 14 years. And I'm like, I don't want to waste any other money. It works, right? Like, what are you talking about? So I just wanted to ask your opinion on that.
So you keep like whatever is original to the camera body.
Why would I buy another one?
Yeah, unless you need to carry it in a certain way. I know people do like different holsters or like have them where you can just snap it to your belt and then like be hands-free.
I'm not a wedding photographer. I don't need two things. Really makes me anxious when I see people have it without, or even a wrist strap and you're like overhead a baby. And I, for some reason, think that the one that they gave is the most sturdy. I don't know. I'm weird. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you for humoring me on that question. Maybe I'll look up the whole, I don't know. I'm a creature of habit. Once you do things a certain way, you can't do it anyway, other way.
If it works, do not change it. It's working for you. Yeah. I love it.
Thanks for being on the show, Joy.
Thank you so much for having me.